So, hello everyone, and welcome to this year's 3-minute trainee competition. My name is Miloš Popović. I'm director of Kite. And on behalf of all our scientists and the leadership here at Kite, I would like to sincerely thank you all for taking part in this event today. This is a very important event for us because the success of Kite depends solely on your success. So the students are the ones and trainees who make the heart and the backbone of this institution. So we are doing our best to make sure that you are well trained, that you are competent, and that you have a positive outlook when you finish your training with us. So I'd like to acknowledge the hard work of the organizing committee who planned this event, and planning an event like this in the middle of COVID is everything but trivial. So thank you all who put their energy, time, and creativity and ingenuity to make this event an exciting event, which we're going to enjoy the next 2 hours or so. Special thanks go to Kite Trainee Executive Committee, who put all the energy and work behind this, and Jenny Campos for her leadership, and many others who took part in this process, and all the students and trainees who are participating in the event today. I told you this before, this is really a favorite event for me because it provides a sneak peek into the future of rehab and what is to come. So many of the concepts and ideas and topics that you're going to cover today, in a way, is going to set the stage for our field for years to come. Also, this is an excellent platform for you to showcase your work, learn how to translate your findings into very brief 3-minute messages, and polish these communication skills and prepare yourself for the world out there that we are preparing you for. We are committed as an institution to do everything we can to train you well and help you succeed. Your success is our success. And what I'm delighted is that the energy and strength and dedication that you show and resolve during this time of pandemic to keep us going forward and doing exciting and world-class research is palpable, and I'm very proud of you all for doing that. So once again, I just want to thank you all for ongoing enthusiastic commitment to Kite, for helping raise the bar in rehab science, and for making Kite an exciting place to be. And this means a lot to me and to everybody else at Kite. So sincere thank you to every one of you for being here today, and I wish you best of luck in the competition.
Thank you so much, Miloš. I'll just follow by introducing myself. So I'm Dr. Jennifer Campos, and I'm the Associate Director of Academics at Kite. And I'll just reiterate things that Miloš very eloquently already said, but this year has been a challenging one for many at Kite, and yet the Kite trainees have really demonstrated this incredible resilience and perseverance and a continued commitment to research that's been really wonderful and amazing to witness and inspiring. But today is a day about coming together and celebrating the successes of Kite trainees and to showcase all of your exciting research achievements. So even though I'm hoping that next year will be our first annual in-person Kite 3MT, I am really looking forward to seeing everybody today. And it's really wonderful to see everybody who is in the audience cheering on and supporting our Kite trainees as they share their research. I also want to say my sincere thanks to everybody who organized this event. Kite Tech, first and foremost, our Kite Trainee Executive Committee worked tirelessly to bring this event to fruition, and there was a lot of work that was done behind the scenes and a lot of other contributors. Thank you to the abstract reviewers and to our esteemed judges for taking the time to make today a great success. So at this point in time, I'm going to pass it along to Sashini, who's a Kite Tech Executive Member of Communications, and she will go over some housekeeping and then we'll get started.
Thank you, Jenny and Milos, for the introduction and opening remarks. Welcome again, everyone, to the Kite 3-minute trainee competition. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sashini, and I'm a PhD candidate here at Kite, and I'm also a member of the Kite Trainee Executive Committee. We're extremely excited to have all of you here today to support your fellow trainees and to learn about all the interesting research that the trainees are working on. So thank you again for coming. So first off, I'm going to go over the schedule for the event today. So following the opening remarks, we'll have the first round of presentations, which will last for about 30 minutes. We'll then have a 10-minute break where you can stretch and go to the bathroom if you need to, followed by the second round of presentations. After all the presentations are done, we'll have some time for you to vote for the People's Choice Award, which I'll explain a bit about that later. And then during that time, we'll also have a quick mindfulness session along with trainee recognition awards and a brief presentation from the Kite Young Innovators program. We'll then be announcing the award winners, followed by the closing remarks. And finally, anyone that has registered for the networking session will be meeting at 6 o'clock on GatherTown for that. So before I introduce the judges for today, I wanted to go over some quick housekeeping details. First off, we definitely encourage you as the audience to engage as much as possible with our event today, and you can do so by putting a message in the chat box. So throughout the event, whenever you see a presentation that you like or you want to support a colleague or trainee, you can show your support in the chat box and just write the message to everyone. And if you do have any specific questions or technical difficulties, you can always message me or one of the other members to ask that question. Another way you can engage is, as I mentioned before, the People's Choice Award. So after all the presentations are done, we'll be sending out a Google form link in the chat box. And there you can vote for your favorite presenter. And you do only have that 10-minute slot to get your vote in. So make sure you get your vote in at that time. And then finally, we have also a Twitter competition that is ongoing. So if you haven't checked that out already, make sure to go to our Twitter handle at Kite Trainees. So you can check those presentations out, and we'll also be announcing the winner of that competition later today. So now I'll just be giving a brief introduction to our 4 judges that will be judging the presentation today. So maybe if the 4 judges can, as soon as I say your name, you can give a little bit of a wave to show everyone who you are. First off, we have Dr. Dorina Simeonov, who is the Policy and Knowledge Mobilization Manager at AgeWell, Canada's Technology and Aging Network. She's part of the ROSE project, which stands for Reusable Open Source Equipment, developing a reusable face mask that meets medical standards for safety. She is also the Operations Officer for Art the Science, a Canadian not-for-profit organization committed to celebrating the connections between art and science. Our next judge is Dr. Amanda Very, who is the lead of research training programs in the Office of Research Trainees at UHN, organizing programs to ensure an exceptional training environment for over 1,300 UHN trainees. She also advocates for inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility as an active member of committees at UHN and Ontario Hospital Association. Our next judge is Ron Bellino, who is an active advocate for dementia, caregiving, aging, and research communities. He's an active member, advisor, and mentor to numerous organizations and educational institutions such as AgeWell, Centre for Aging and Brain Health Innovation, City of Toronto's Senior Strategy, SE Health, and the Translational Research Program at the University of Toronto. In his past, Ron has a background in computer sciences, space and communication sciences, marine aquaculture, life coaching, and culinary arts. And last but not least, we have Dr. Augustine Devasahian, who is a postdoctoral researcher in the Safe Independent Mobility Lab at Toronto Rehab. He received his doctoral degree in medicine from the Faculty of Medicine at the Memorial University of Newfoundland. Through his research, he aims to identify the barriers to attending rehabilitation, validate new markers of recovery for individuals with neural deficits, and develop effective treatments for those with long-standing disabilities. So a big thank you for all our 4 judges again for coming today and participating in our competition. So without further ado, I'll hand it back to Jenny, who will be introducing and moderating the presentations.
With the occasional appearance of young children and a furry tail in the background. Okay, so to kick things off, our first talk is by Paul Kumar, and the title is Design and Evaluation of an At-Home Hand Washing Reminder System. Paul.
Hello, everyone. So I'll get started. I can clearly remember my mother telling me as I grew up, remember to wash your hands. Like many other things that I may have dismissed as I grew older, she may have been onto something. The World Health Organization outlined hand washing as an important primary prevention method in preventing the transmission of infectious disease. And I'm sure we can all remember through the COVID-19 pandemic that everyone was reminding us, no matter going through a hospital, a grocery store, or even at work, that we should be washing our hands. Yet, likely many of us forget to even wash our hands or even underestimate the importance of hand washing when we return home. This is very troublesome, as hand washing, as I mentioned, prevents infectious disease like viruses and bacteria from transmitting from one person to another. So the objective of my project is the design of a simple reminder device that reminds people when entering their homes to wash their hands. My study will evaluate whether such a device will be able to increase the likelihood of individuals entering their homes to wash their hands. The system uses a pair of motion sensors to track whether individuals are entering or leaving their home. Features are extracted from the analog output of these motion sensors and fed to a classification model to determine whether someone is leaving or someone is entering. If the system detects that someone has just entered their home, then reminders are used to prompt users to interact with an alcohol gel dispenser. This prompt will be present until users wash their hands, hopefully increasing the likelihood of that behavior to be learned and them continuing to wash their hands as they come home. Through pilot test data, the system was placed in 3 private residences. The system was able to increase mean hand washing within these residences by 17% and by 25% within the lowest baseline threshold in one of the households. My next steps would be having a full-fledged 20-person study where I hope to elucidate these values even more and see this trend continue. And I hope this system will be able to stop the spread of infection within people's homes. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Paul. We're just going to give the judges a minute to record their ratings before we move on to the next presentation. It's also a very timely reminder that despite the fact that we're seeing great progress in infection control, we can always do better, and we can never sort of let our guard down. Thank you for that. Give it a few more seconds. Okay. We'll now move on to our next presentation. Our next presenter will be Grace Gabriel, and the title of her presentation is Training Self-Motion Perception and Balance in Older and Younger Adults. Great.
Okay, so let's suppose that, like the man in the bottom left of this slide, that you're sitting on a bus or a train waiting at the station. You then get this sudden distinct awareness that you're now moving, but how can you tell? So this might be thanks to the flurry of sensory information arriving simultaneously to your brain, including visual information of seeing the trees passing by your window, or even noticing yourself accelerating forward thanks to your vestibular system. So self-motion perception, such as being able to tell how fast or in which direction you're moving, is critical for safe navigation, including when walking, driving, and even standing still. Importantly, having poor self-motion perception is an important risk factor for falls, and falls are the single greatest cause of both fatal and non-fatal injury in older adults. So in this research, the goal was to see whether we could train participants to better perceive self-motion through a training paradigm that uses multiple sensory cues. So specifically, we asked a group of older and younger adults to sit inside of Kite's state-of-the-art motion simulator, as you can kind of see larger on the slide, while wearing virtual reality goggles and asking them to judge in which direction they'd been moved. So either to the forward left or to the forward right. And we did this in 3 sensory conditions. So we either moved participants only physically in the dark, so with only this vestibular information, or visually, so physically stationary, using virtual reality goggles, which we used to make it look like they were traveling through space in a star field, or bimodally, so using both physical and visual motion at the same time. At first, we presented participants with very wide angles to make it obvious in which direction they'd been moved, but then the angles became narrower and narrower until it became very difficult to tell whether they'd been moved to the left or to the right. So the smaller the angles that they could differentiate, the more precise their heading perception abilities. So next, we trained participants on this bimodal task by showing them narrow angles in the visual vestibular combined condition and provided participants with feedback, so correct or incorrect, following each of their responses. Once this training was complete, we then retested them on the visual alone, vestibular alone, and bimodal visual vestibular combined conditions to see if they'd improved. What we found was that all participants became more precise at perceiving self-motion following this training paradigm, suggesting that it may be indeed possible to improve self-motion perception through multisensory visual vestibular training. The ultimate hope is that this research could be used to inform falls prevention strategies in older adults and in the general population. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Grace. Again, I'm going to set my timer here so that I give the judges a little bit of time to enter their ratings. Grace's presentation reminded me of one of the things that I'm missing right now, which is traveling on public transit and taking the GO train into the city, which I'm very much looking forward to getting back to in the coming months. Just give it another few seconds here so that we can give the judges ample time to make their notes. I'll also encourage everybody, if you'd like to use the chat box to share your comments or to cheer on your colleagues, then please do so throughout the competition. Okay. So we're going to move on to our next presentation. So our next presenter is Clement Chow. The title of his talk is Completion of a Phase 2 Outpatient Cardiac Rehabilitation Program following transcatheter aortic valve implantation or surgical aortic valve replacement. Off to Clement.
Thank you. So valvular heart disease accounts for up to 1/3 of all heart diseases. And one of the main types of valvular heart disease is aortic stenosis. A good analogy for aortic stenosis would be calcium deposits that build up and block pipes. For aortic stenosis, blood flow is restricted due to narrowing and calcification of the aortic valve. The gold standard treatment for severe aortic stenosis is surgical aortic valve replacement, SAVR, which requires open heart surgery when replacing the stenotic valve. But in 2002, the first ever transcatheter aortic valve implantation, TAVI, was performed, and this relatively new alternative treatment doesn't require open heart surgery and is recommended for patients deemed inoperable for SAVR. Back to the pipe analogy, even after the calcium deposits have been removed, the flow rate may still be low. In the context of severe aortic stenosis patients, this could be the case because of deconditioning or inactivity before the procedure. This is one of the reasons why TAVI or SAVR patients are referred to outpatient cardiac rehabilitation, where they participate in a program that includes aerobic and resistance training, patient education, psychosocial, and dietary counseling. However, the effectiveness of outpatient cardiac rehabilitation programs with a duration longer than 12 weeks for TAVI patients is not well studied. The objectives of my study were to compare the effectiveness of outpatient cardiac rehabilitation between TAVI and SAVR patients and compare the program completion rates between these cohorts. So a retrospective database review of 615 patients referred to a large urban center that offers weekly 90-minute training and education sessions for 24 weeks was conducted between 2015 to 2019. I know, pre-pandemic. One of our main findings was that program completion led to a significant improvement in cardiorespiratory fitness, which was measured by peak oxygen uptake, VO2 peak. In the literature, it's been well established that there is an association between VO2 peak and survival of cardiac populations, and that even a modest 1 milliliter per kilogram per minute improvement in VO2 peak was associated with a 10% lower cardiac mortality risk. Despite several other promising findings of TAVI patients who participate in outpatient cardiac rehabilitation, enrollment of TAVI patients is significantly lower than SAVR patients, and the inclusion of more TAVI patients is crucial for overall health and mortality benefits. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Clement. For those of you who are just joining, I just want to remind you that there is a People's Choice Award that you'll be able to vote for at the very end after everybody has presented. Kite will share the link to that form that you can fill out to vote. So be sure to kind of track your favorites as you go along, and then at the end, be sure to vote for the People's Choice Award. And again, please feel free to share your comments in the chat box as well. I'm just going to give it another couple of seconds here before we move on to our next presentation for our judges to have the difficult job of deliberating. Okay, I think we'll move on to our next presentation. Our next presenter is Meng Fen Tsai. The title of the talk is Identifying Hand Use and Hand Roles of Stroke Survivors in Activities of Daily Living Using Eocentric Video. Brandy, if we could advance the slide.
According to Public Health Agency of Canada, more than 700,000 Canadians has been stroke. One of their key determinants of their quality of life is hand function. Today, clinical functional assessment of upper limb use rely on self-reported questionnaire and lack details about hand function. In order to know how often and how well stroke survivors use their hands at home, we propose to use an egocentric camera to record how stroke survivors carry out daily tasks. Computer vision and machine learning algorithms were used to extract the details of hand function from the recorded videos. More specifically, hand use, which defined as an interaction here, and two hand roles, stabilizer and manipulator. A stabilizer is the hand that holds an object steadily, and a manipulator is the hand moving the object. In this study, the recorded video were from 9 stroke survivors when they carry out daily tasks in their typical manner in a home simulation laboratory. There were 4 steps to identify interaction and hand roles: hand detection, hand segmentation, feature extraction, and classification. Features included color, motion, and hand shape for interaction, and 1 additional feature for hand role, hand size change. We evaluate the algorithm performance by testing it with unseen subject and unseen tasks, using Live1 subject outcross validation and Live1 task outcross validation respectively. An F1 score is reported in result. A score closer to 1 is better. In the results of interaction detection on more affected hand, the average F1 scores were 0.64 and 0.76 for unseen subject and unseen tasks, which demonstrate that interaction detection is feasible, but benefit from subject-specific training. As for hand role classification on more affected hand, the average F1 score were 0.70 and 0.68 for unseen subject and unseen task. Motion and hand shape features are vital factors to detect interaction and hand roll of stroke survivors. By using this technology, clinicians and researchers are able to gain a detailed understanding on how often and how well stroke survivors use their hands at home, which are also essential for investigating the impact of new therapies and guiding remote care. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mengfen. Believe it or not, we're already more than halfway through the first half of our set of presentations, the first set of our first half of our presentations. We'll give the judges a few more seconds to deliberate and to get their ratings down. And just a reminder to feel free to use the chat box, encourage your colleagues. And we have 3 more presentations before we take our first break. A few more seconds here. Okay, I think we're good to move on to our next presentation. So our next presenter is Lays Venzela, and the title of her talk is Cardiorespiratory Fitness of Individuals Participating in a Cardiac Rehabilitation Program Before and During the COVID-19 Pandemic, a sex, age, smoking status, and diagnosis matched cohort. Lays?
So the pandemic led to a very drastic and sweeping change to some areas of the healthcare system, and it includes cardiac rehabilitation. Cardiac rehabilitation is a type of program where people with cardiovascular disease are prescribed exercise and receive education on medication and how to modify their risk factors to prevent another cardiac event. Almost half of all cardiac rehabilitation programs closed during the pandemic, and the ones that remained open had to find ways to continue providing care in a safe but effective way other than face-to-face. But how can we do that? So a type of virtual model of care was designed and provided an opportunity to deliver care during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, before this study, we didn't actually know if this program was as effective as on-site face-to-face model to change cardiorespiratory fitness of our patients. Cardiorespiratory fitness is one of the most important outcomes in the cardiac rehab, mainly because of its association with mortality and morbidity. The greater the fitness, the longer people will live and the fewer medical events they will have. And this is what we aim to investigate in this study. So what were the changes in cardiorespiratory fitness of individuals that participated in virtual cardiac rehabilitation during the pandemic compared to those with the same characteristics in terms of age, sex, diagnosis, and presence of diabetes that attended on-site program models previous pandemic? Virtual cardiac rehabilitation provided during the pandemic included 1 session per week, 4 on-site and 12 virtual group sessions delivered over the internet for a total of 16 weeks. While pre-COVID, cardiac rehabilitation included 1 on-site session per week for a total of 24 weeks. And both models were able to improve cardiorespiratory fitness, and it was identified by significant change in VO2 peak. The really important finding here is that there were no differences between either models of care in improving cardiorespiratory fitness. Both models did so equally. And why this is important? Because many people face barriers to access cardiac rehabilitation. So identifying an effective model to provide rehabilitation care virtually may help to overcome barriers during and beyond pandemic. Thank you to my co-investigators and to you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lays. Okay, we'll give the judges a few moments to jot down their thoughts and their ratings before we move on to our next presenter. I notice that we do have a few new attendees who have joined, so thanks so much for joining us, and please feel free to use the chat box. A reminder, there is a People's Choice Award at the end. We'll give it a few more seconds. Okay, I think we can now move on to our next presentation. Our next presenter is Gustavo Balbino, and the title of his talk is Human Evolution and the Importance of the Cortical Spinal Tract Projections to Distal Hand Muscles. What are the implications after a spinal cord injury? Gustavo?
What makes us humans so special? We have evolved to a bipedal posture around 10 million years ago. By doing so, we were able to free our hands and begin the most striking part of the journey of becoming humans. Compared to the evolution of other species, we developed remarkable dexterity in hand movements. We can accomplish complex tasks using our hands, for example, playing music. This is unique to our species. But why we have such a good control of our hands? The dexterous hand use is supported by an expansion of the brain to help controlling the hand movements. As a result, there are more direct brain-to-hand connections in humans compared to other species. Ironically, this is also a problem when there is an injury to those connections. For example, after a spinal cord injury. Our group, in collaboration with European Multicenter Study about Spinal Cord Injury, the MSK group, analyzed data from more than 700 individuals with a spinal cord injury in the first year after the lesion. In this study, we are using machine learning approaches to predict the strength recovery of upper limb muscles. We found that the strength recovery of hand muscles was limited and also delayed. Only 5 in 10 individuals with a sensory motor complete spinal cord injury would recover hand strength to a functional level 1 year after the lesion. This recovery was also hard to predict, and the prediction accuracy increased if we added biomarkers related to the integrity of those connections between the brain and the hand. For obtaining this biomarker, we delivered magnetic stimulation to the participant's brain using state-of-the-art technology. Using this biomarker, we were able to increase the accuracy of the prediction and to explore the importance of the integrity of the brain-to-hand connections for strength recovery. 7 in 10 individuals with the presence of this biomarker displayed some degree of strength recovery in the hand muscles 1 year after the lesion. Understanding the motor impairment and what factors limit recovery is a very important step in the journey of finding a cure for paralysis. We hope this journey does not take another 10 million years. And the only way to find a cure, similar to our ancestors who had to keep walking, we need to keep the research alive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gustavo. So I'm going to give the judges a few minutes here to get their ratings down before we move on to our final presentation of the first half of the session before we take a break. Again, I do notice that we still have people who are kind of joining in as we go, and I just want to remind those people that you can use the chat box to put your comments and that there is a People's Choice Award at the end of the session. So be aware and look for that to enter your votes at that point. Give it a few more seconds. Okay, we can move on to our last presentation before we take a break and come back for the second half of the event. So our presenter is Nithin Jacob, and Nithin's going to tell us about the effects of high intensity interval training on blood lactate levels in healthy adults, systematic review and network meta-analyses. Nithin?
You might have heard of high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, and its benefits on weight loss, diabetes, and how this exercise is medicine for general health. But have you heard of HIIT and its benefits on cognition? Research has shown that this type of exercise can improve people's cognition as measured by the ability to suppress distractions or ignore irrelevant stimuli. Think back to all the times that you have had a long virtual meeting and you kept getting distracted by your phone notifications. Now imagine how productive you could be if you could stay focused the entire meeting without having to constantly check your phone. Wouldn't that be great? A quick Google search reveals that this type of training is defined as short or long bouts of intense exercise separated by recovery or rest periods. But there are hundreds and hundreds of different types of HIIT protocols that are out there. So once you get on that treadmill, how would you know which one to pick? If your goal is to be better at ignoring distractions throughout your workday, should you pick the short one with only 10-second sprints and 20 seconds rest? Or is the one 20 seconds on and 60 seconds off better suited for this goal? There are so many more combinations available for HIIT protocols, and having so many options may not necessarily be a good thing. Just think back to how many times you spent scrolling through the endless options on Netflix, and you may know what I mean. Encouragingly, researchers are starting to figure out that biomarkers such as blood lactate are active ingredients that mediate the effects of exercise on cognitive performance, such as suppressing irrelevant stimuli. So then we would just need to identify a HIIT protocol that elicits peak blood lactate levels, and we can make use of the benefits that lactate has on cognition. And this is exactly what our systematic review will do. We will gather all the studies that examine blood lactate levels after high-intensity interval training and use meta-analyses to determine which type of HIIT protocol is most effective in increasing blood lactate. We will use a special technique called network meta-analyses, where we can compare the effects of different HIIT protocols on blood lactate across many different studies. So if there was one study that only looked at 3 of the button combinations on the screen, and another study that looked at 2 of the button combinations, we could compare the results to understand which button combination is the most effective in increasing blood lactate. And this is a key strength of our analyses. Our analyses will guide how to optimally structure HIIT protocols to achieve peak blood lactate levels and determine the strength of the relationship between blood lactate and cognitive performance. Stay tuned for our findings so that the next time you hop on your treadmill, you will know which HIIT protocol you can pick to help you get through your workday without distractions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Okay, so this is the point in time where we're going to take a break so you can get some water, you can engage in your preferred HIIT protocol, use the washroom, whatever you would like to do for the next 10 minutes, but don't go very far because we still have 6 more presenters left in the session. So we will see everybody back around 2:50 based on the schedule. So we'll see everyone back here at 2:50 where we will start with the second half of the 3-minute trainee presentations. Thank you so much. If you're just joining, we have 1 more minute before we get started again for the second half of our presentations.
That was good. This first session was very good.
Great. Great job to all the presenters. We have 6 more. We're excited to see what the second half of this session has in store.
You should have received popcorn
That would have been nice, right?
to watch and
Popcorn,
munch.
snacks, healthy snacks.
Yes, incentivize the judges
Exactly.
with popcorn.
Note for next year, popcorn. Hopefully it'll be catered next year. Hopefully we'll be in the same room having a break with coffee and
I mean, we are really planning to get that to have eye care on May 16, 2022. Dead or alive. I think we're coming in no matter what.
yeah, that's gonna happen. That's optimistic. Let's be optimistic. Okay. Okay. So I think we can get started. I'm just having a question here from one of our presenters about whether it's essential to have the video on if there's technical difficulties, and that's fine if it's not possible for you to present with your video. Don't worry about it. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. It's nice to see that we have a few more people joining the session, the second half of the Kite 3MT this afternoon. So just a couple of reminders for those of you who are just joining. We do have 6 presentations left in the event, and then that will be followed by a few announcements and activities while our judges deliberate in choosing our top winners. But we will also have a People's Choice Award, which is important for you to note so that you can be watching these presentations with that in mind. And the link to the voting will be offered at the very after the very last presentation. So be mindful of that. There's also a chat box that is open and activated, and we really appreciate when everybody puts in comments, questions, or just encouragement for your colleagues is very much appreciated. So so please make note of that as well. Okay, so with no further ado, we will begin with our first presenter. So our first presenter of this half of the session is Neero Mohanathis. Neero is going to be telling us about using cognitive executive function training and virtual reality simulations to reduce falls risk in older adults with hearing loss. Neero.
Meet Henry and his wife, Grace. Henry has started to notice difficulties with his hearing and finds it hard to communicate with his wife, Grace. He most commonly has trouble listening when he is dual tasking, such as when listening and walking at the same time. In fact, Henry is not alone. Hearing loss is the 3rd most prevalent chronic health condition in older adults. In addition to the commonly acknowledged difficulties with communication, older adults with hearing loss have a 3 times greater risk of falling compared to older adults without hearing loss. Falls are the 2nd leading cause of injury-related deaths and account for over 684,000 deaths each year globally. But why is it that older adults with hearing loss fall more often? Well, previous research has suggested that the relationship between hearing loss and falls may be due to an increased cognitive load caused by difficulties with hearing. Specifically, the cognitive effort required to listen is increased, leaving fewer cognitive resources remaining to support safe mobility, such as when walking and listening at the same time. As such, it is possible that by increasing cognitive resources through cognitive training, this may improve hearing and mobility-related task performance. However, this has never been tested before. Therefore, my research aims to test the effect of cognitive training on listening and walking performance in older adults with and without hearing loss. To do this, we will be using virtual reality simulators, which are valuable tools for safely examining complex sensory motor behaviors during realistic everyday challenges, such as the challenge of listening to a conversation while crossing a busy city intersection. Therefore, we will use StreetLab, a state-of-the-art virtual reality simulator that contains a fully immersive projection screen and a treadmill. Participants will listen and report digits while walking in StreetLab to measure their baseline listening while walking performance prior to the cognitive training intervention. Following this, participants will continue to do a 12-week at-home cognitive training on a computer, targeting several executive function processes, such as divided attention. They will then return to StreetLab and repeat the same listening while walking task to examine whether the cognitive training improved listening or walking performance post-intervention. Zooming back in on our lovely couple, Henry and Grace, how will the results from the study directly impact their lives? Well, these findings can inform interventions targeted at falls risk mitigation and provide novel recommendations to emphasize cognitive training strategies in clinical practices for individuals with hearing loss. Ultimately, this could help improve the quality of life for older adults like Henry and Grace and support them in aging well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neero. We'll give the judges a couple minutes to get their ratings down. Feel free to take this time to share some thoughts in the chat box. We have 5 more presentations. Give the judges a moment here, a few more seconds. Don't envy the judges this year. It'll be a difficult decision. Okay, we will move on now to our next presentation. So our next presenter is Sukriti Sachdev, and today we will be hearing about using tablet games to determine engagement of cognitive domains in persons with dementia and mild cognitive impairment. Sukriti?
Thank you. Do you enjoy spending time playing games on your phone or on your tablet? What if I told you that playing games that are accessible through your phone's app stores can be beneficial for cognitive function? According to the DSM-5, a diagnostic handbook for clinicians published by the American Psychiatric Association, dementia is a neurodegenerative disorder that has a negative impact on domains that impact cognitive function and related processes, including complex attention, executive function, learning and memory, language, and perceptual motor. Mild cognitive impairment, or MCI, is when mild decline in at least one aspect of cognition is present. Unfortunately, as many of us get older, we will experience dementia or MCI. Previous research has shown that these domains can be engaged in healthy adults through touchscreen tablet games. Engagement of these domains has also been shown through bespoke games in persons with dementia or MCI. However, the ways that tablet games can be used to engage the listed cognitive domains amongst people with dementia or MCI warrants further exploration. If we can determine which elements of these mainstream games engage cognitive domains, we can create novel tablet games that are capable of targeting such domains in a therapeutic manner. In this study, we hypothesized that mainstream tablet games such as Word Search, Bubble Explode, and Jig-T contain elements that engage cognitive domains in people with dementia or MCI. A sample of 18 participants with dementia or MCI were video recorded playing mainstream games on touchscreen tablets, and a video coding scheme was developed using the program Observer XT. This coding scheme maps observable behaviors such as eye gaze, body language, hand movements, and game strategy to the 5 cognitive domains to identify evidence of cognitive engagement. A visualization of a single video showing which of these behaviors were observed throughout this gameplay session is shown on the top left. The final results, as shown using the pie chart on the bottom, indicate engagement of all 5 evaluated cognitive domains during tablet play. When looking at individual behaviors, the results showed highest engagement of complex attention and lowest engagement of the language cognitive domain. The results show that mainstream tablet games can engage cognitive domains amongst people with dementia or MCI. This increases the accessibility of such beneficial games and is a cost-effective way to improve cognitive function for people with dementia or MCI. Since a large proportion of older adults experience impairments in cognitive function as they age, unless you know the secret to immortality, it would be beneficial to prioritize the improvement of cognitive function. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sukriti. So we'll give the judges a moment here to make their readings. Feel free to use the chat box. Share your thoughts.
You should have the music in that. Dun, dun, dun. You should have done something to.
There you go. Another addition for next year. Some dramatic between presentation music, hearing deliberations.
Suspense.
Or maybe something upbeat and light. Okay, we'll give it a couple more seconds here. Okay, we can move on to our next presentation. So our next presenter is Catherine Bach. Catherine's going to tell us today about accommodations in the workplace to support individuals with dementia or mild cognitive impairment. Catherine.
I want you to put yourself in the shoes of Tom here in the left-hand photo. He is sitting in a meeting with his colleagues, and he is explaining important information to a potential business collaborator. However, he is having troubles remembering key details, despite creating notes that he thought would help him. His colleagues are looking concerned, as in the past, Tom has been able to remember these kinds of important details and was known to have a good memory. He is feeling worried and stressed about these changes in his ability to perform his usual job tasks. And to top it off, Talking with his employer was unsuccessful, as the employer didn't have a good understanding of what Tom was experiencing or ways to help him deal with these challenges, with talks about Tom needing to potentially step down from his position. He can't believe this is happening to him at only 50 years old and doesn't know what to do. As I hope you can understand, this is an extremely challenging and stressful situation to be in, especially when there doesn't seem to be a clear solution. Problems with Tom's ability to complete work tasks due to subtle changes in his memory may actually be the first indicator of mild cognitive impairment or early onset dementia. Since early onset dementia occurs in individuals under the age of 65, many receive a formal diagnosis while still in the workforce. As in the example with Tom, strategies used to try and accommodate these changes in his ability to perform well at his job, such as making notes for himself and looking to his employer for assistance, have not been particularly helpful. This is largely because very little research to date has looked at this issue head-on, and particularly in Canada, there are no clear legislative guidelines in place for both individuals and their employers regarding workplace accommodations for those experiencing cognitive declines. And that's where my research comes in. The goal of my research is to better understand specific workplace challenges individuals with cognitive declines face and what kinds of accommodations would be helpful for them. To do this, we plan to conduct interviews with individuals diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment or early onset dementia while still in the workforce to get direct insights and lived experiences from these individuals. We have adapted a workplace accommodations framework used by other populations to help identify the different kinds of job demands these individuals have, how their ability to complete these job demands have changed over time, and what kinds of accommodations have and have not worked in the past, and best ways to go forward. With a growing number of people staying in the workforce for longer, there will likely be an increase in individuals experiencing cognitive declines while still working. There is a clear need to understand through personal experiences what kinds of specific workplace supports are needed. This can help to create useful guidelines and recommendations for appropriate accommodations for individuals with cognitive impairments in the workforce. As in the bottom right-hand photo, we can help those like Tom get the proper help he needs and improve his overall quality of life and allow him to continue doing the meaningful work he loves.
Great. Thank you, Catherine. We will give it a couple minutes now. I know, Atusa, you're having some technical difficulties. Can you verify that you're ready to present? So we can't hear you if you're speaking.
Can you hear me now?
We can. Okay, we'll still give it a couple seconds to let the judges deliberate, but I just wanted to make sure that you were able to give your presentation, but yeah, we'll wait.
I'm sorry about the technical difficulty.
No problem. It's just the way these things work these days, right? It would be unusual to not have at least one technical difficulty. So we're doing great. No problem. Okay. So I think we're right on time here. So at this point, we will move on to the next presentation. So the next presenter is Atusa Asadi, and we will be hearing about risk assessment and prediction of respiratory depression during sleep.
Hi, everyone. Opioids crisis in Canada is a major challenge. It affects 12% of individuals who use opioids for pain management and 10% of population who use opioids for non-medical reasons. While suppressing pain, opioids reduce respiration and can cause respiratory depression, which is characterized as reduced respiratory rate. The risk of respiratory depression is increased during sleep when the wakefulness drive for respiration is lost and monitoring of patients' vital signs are challenged. Respiratory depression decreases blood oxygen level and increases blood CO2 level, which can lead to cardiorespiratory arrest. The consequences are cardiovascular complications, increased healthcare utilization, cost, and mortality. Fortunately, if diagnosed on time, respiratory depression can be treated effectively. Therefore, timely detection of respiratory depression is of great importance in preventing adverse events. Indeed, 97% of respiratory depression adverse events can be prevented by proper monitoring of cardiorespiratory function of individuals who are at high risk. However, due to heterogeneity of respiratory depression, identifying high-risk individuals are challenging. Moreover, frequent monitoring of patients' vital signs during sleep, which is usually performed manually, is labor-intensive, cumbersome, subject to errors, and it can only be used to detect and not predict respiratory depression. Therefore, in this project, we aim to use previously collected medical and sleep data of patients on opioids and achieve the following objectives. First, to use our clinical data set and develop a personalized method based on artificial intelligence techniques to robustly identify individuals who are at high risk of developing respiratory depression. Second, we aim to develop medical technologies for continuously and non-invasively monitoring of patients' cardiorespiratory biomarkers, specifically those which are indicators of respiratory depression. And third, we aim to develop algorithms based on machine learning techniques to predict future respiratory depression events to alert the caregiver. The results of this project will help direct the care of high-risk patients and provide a golden window of survival by alerting the caregiver in advance to initiate early interventions. My name is Atusa Asadi, and my goal is to develop accurate and robust algorithms based on advanced signal processing and artificial intelligence techniques for automatic risk assessment, monitoring, and prediction of respiratory depression during sleep. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Atusa. So we'll give our judges a few minutes. I do see that we have another person who's joined. So just a reminder, you can use the chat box to share your comments. And also we have a People's Choice Award that you'll have a chance to vote for after our last presenter. Believe it or not, we only have 2 presenters left in the entire competition. So in a few moments, we'll start with our second last presenter. Once we are finished with our last presenter, you will have about 10 minutes to vote for the People's Choice Award. So do so without delay to make sure that your vote is counted. Okay. And I think we can get started with our next presentation. So our next presenter is Eugene Huang, and he will be talking about using machine learning to improve closed loop control of neuromodulation. Eugene?
Thank you. Our hands are essential to our daily lives. They help us eat, open doors, navigate Instagram. People with prosthetic hands have limited control compared to a natural hand, and existing attempts to improve such control are either unsuitable for long-term use due to invasiveness, or don't provide the nuanced control of a natural hand. One way to improve control is to surgically implant a device that records nerve signals, which can provide a huge amount of information about the human body, including motor intent from the brain to move a limb in a particular manner. This can then be translated in control signals movement in the prosthetic. In other words, it can allow actual mind control of a prosthetic hand. But here's the catch. These devices have a trade-off between invasiveness and performance. Devices that wrap around the nerve are suitable for long-term use, but they aren't able to capture as much detail about the internal activity of a nerve. On the flip side, devices that penetrate the nerve would be able to record with much finer grained detail, but that penetration can lead to longer-term nerve damage. Our lab has broken out of this trade-off, taking this less invasive device that wraps around the nerve and using machine learning to improve its performance. This state-of-the-art method now uses devices suitable for long-term use and performs at a high level. So what's next? Make it small, make it fast. Machine learning is incredibly powerful, but also resource and computation heavy, big and slow. A lot of research has gone into improving these algorithms so that they can be deployed on platforms with limited resources and real-time performance. I am taking inspiration from this work to fine-tune our algorithm to maintain performance after translation to a surgically implantable hardware platform with limitations. To date, I have developed an algorithm that is 416 times smaller than the original, performing at 77% accuracy against a baseline of 80%. Finally, I will demonstrate its viability to work in vivo using the rat sciatic nerve. So to sum up, by taking our upgraded design of this assistive technology, making it small and making it fast, we move closer to widespread clinical use by people who can reap these benefits. We can give them a helping hand to restore as much of their pre-injury lives as possible. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Eugene.
Thank you.
Okay, we are just going to give a few minutes a few more seconds for the judges to enter in their ratings, and we will prepare for our last presenter of the event, last but certainly not least, in just a few moments. Please feel free to use the chat box to make any of your comments. Give it another few seconds here. Judges have their work cut out for them for certain. Okay, now I think we can move on to our last presentation of the event. Our last presenter is Rachel Cohen, and we will hear about an intelligent fluid intake monitoring system using multi-sensor data fusion. Rachel.
I think we've all picked up new hobbies over this pandemic. Personally, I've gotten really into gardening. But unfortunately for me and my plants, I have the opposite of a green thumb. As a horrible plant mom, I sometimes go weeks without watering my plants. And I have some, like a cactus, that do just fine. They have a really good ability to regulate the water in their systems. But there are others, like orchids, that are just always wilting because they don't have that same ability. The same thing happens to us as we age. Older adults have a harder time regulating the water in their bodies, leading to really severe consequences. Now, there's a lot going on here. First of all, as we age, we actually have a decreased ability to feel thirst. So sometimes we just forget to drink. Second of all, those warning signs that come when you do feel dehydrated, like those wilting petals, those aren't as accurate in seniors. So it can be really hard to diagnose dehydration. And third, older adults have less water naturally in their bodies than younger adults. So even if you lose just a small amount, it can lead to really serious complications, including hospitalization or even death. Healthcare professionals are now suggesting that we should prevent dehydration by ensuring that elderly people are drinking enough throughout the day. And that is exactly my intent with my master's project. You can see in the middle that there are many sensors, both on the body and in the environment. And these are being used to detect, one, when a person takes a drink, and two, the amount of that drink. So the smartwatch is measuring the hand-to-mouth motion. The smart shirt is capturing breathing signals, because when you take a drink, you actually stop breathing for a second. And the camera and depth camera are taking pictures of the person while they drink to be classified. A depth camera is really similar to a camera, it just has privacy preserving features. So using artificial intelligence, I can combine all of these sensors to predict when that drink happens. And so far I've achieved an accuracy above 90%. Also, by testing all of these together or separately, we can find which setup and combination of sensors is A, the most accurate, but also the least cumbersome for the patient. We can track their fluid intake throughout the day to get a whole picture and then prompt them to drink based on that. This will help stop or prevent dehydration and prevent hospitalizations and death. This will help your loved ones stay at home for longer, maintain their independence, and turn their bodies from wilting flowers to flourishing ones. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Rachel. Okay, well, this is the moment in time that I know you've been preparing for, which is to be able to submit your People's Choice Awards. So you can see on the screen there is a QR code that you can scan in order to be able to make your votes. And do we have Do we have a direct link? Yes, we do. So Rebea's just put in the chat box a direct link for the Google form as well that you could use to make your ratings and rankings. So I know that we have a couple things planned. We now need to give the judges their time to come together as a group and deliberate so that they can choose the winners of the Kite 3MT competition. In the meantime, I think we have a couple of things planned for the next 20 minutes or so. So we're going to give the judges about 20 minutes to make to come up with the winners. I think here on the schedule, we are going to endeavor to announce the awards at 3:45. So if you do leave your computers before then, please make sure to come back by 3:45 to hear the big announcements. But for now, I believe Reza is going to lead us in a mindfulness session. And then I will have the pleasure of highlighting a few awards, achievements, and recognitions that were shared with us over the past year of Kite Trainee accomplishments. And then I believe Hodan might have a few things to say about the Kite Young Innovators program, which is our youth outreach program that looks towards STEM engagement with elementary and secondary school student youth. And I can't help but think, as I'm watching all of these presentations, what incredible role models this group of individuals would be for our Kite Young Innovators, who would just be so blown away and impressed, but inspired by the presentations, and more specifically, the presenters that we just had a chance to see today. So with no further ado, I will pass it over to Reza, who I think is going to activate our mindfulness moment, which I'm sure we can all use, but particularly those who just finished their 3 minutes presentations.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you everyone for the great work. Don't forget to vote for your People Choice Award. You have 10 minutes to do so. And with that, I'm going to play a mindfulness meditation from Peloton.
Hi, I'm Anna Greenberg. Welcome to Peloton Meditation. This is a 10-minute mental health meditation I've got for you all today. This class is not intended to cure anyone's mental health issues or replace therapy or treatment, but it is a safe space for you to tune into yourself, notice how you feel without judgment, and honor that. Set yourself up in a comfortable position. Elevate your seat high enough that you can feel rooted and grounded through your legs, and nice and tall through your spine. We are going to practice using our breath and a mantra today, as well as a sweet gratitude practice. I find that the combination of these 3 things helps me immensely. I do these practices daily. So once you're settled, you can go ahead and close your eyes or gaze softly down your nose, and we'll get started. Take a few moments to let yourself land in the safety of your own container. Your body is always here for you as your own perfect home. That you can take refuge in. Begin to notice how you feel inside today. practice greeting whatever you find with kindness, without judgment. We all have good days and bad. We can't always control the circumstances that arise outside of ourselves. And sometimes we can't control what arises within. Whether your struggles come from something that happened, or if they seem to come from nowhere at all, there is no shame in it. And there is always a way through. Send your breath into any areas of yourself that feel tight, that need a little extra care, a little extra kindness. Send your breath around any thought, any feeling that is becoming too big to see through. Let your breath create more space around whatever thought, whatever feeling or sensation arises. Your breath may not change that feeling, but it will give you more space between yourself and that intense rising. Maybe enough space to see that that feeling, that thought, although it is real, it is not you. And like all things, it too shall pass. Begin to consciously send your breath into the front, the sides, and the back planes of your body. Finding a full, expansive inhale and a complete exhale that creates space and allows you to land. On your next expansive inhale, say to yourself silently, I am here. As you exhale, I am enough. Inhale, I am here. Exhale, I am enough. Stay with this mantra if it serves you. Stay with your breath. This mantra practice can be a wonderful tool in hard moments. Something to hold on to. Something to help make it from one moment to the next. Until you're through. Inhale, I am here. Exhale, I am enough. On your best days, on your worst days, and every day in between, you are more than enough. And for the last minute of our meditation, let's cultivate gratitude. Bring to mind something that you feel grateful for. Doesn't matter if it's big or small. It's okay if it's difficult or if it's easy. Settle your mind on this gratitude you feel. And notice if it shifts anything within you. This is a practice. And that's why we practice, whether it's a good day or a bad. To cultivate this space within that you can rely on, come back to, seek refuge in. Take another full breath in and another full breath out. Slowly float your eyelids open and re-enter the world. I'm Anna Greenberg. Thank you so much for joining me for this 10-minute mental health meditation. Know that you are not alone. You matter. You are always enough.
Okay. That was very relaxing. We're in a good state of mind now to move forward and celebrate. So I know that we have some slides that were prepared by Kite Tech. Thanks to everybody who sent in the list of achievements and recognitions of the Kite trainees over the past year or so. I don't know if Brandy, will you be sharing those slides as well?
I don't have any more slides.
Okay. Let me see. I've got them. Rebea, do you have them?
I'm sorry, unfortunately, I don't have them.
Okay. This was in, let me know if this works. Okay. I will share my screen. Okay, can you see the slides okay?
Yes, that's
perfect. Okay, so we're just going to take the next few minutes just to recognize some accomplishments. These are by no means exhaustive. These were just solicited and compiled to give a nod to a lot of the wonderful accomplishments that have taken place over the past year. So we wanted to say congratulations to Dr. Robert Amillard, who won the Postdoctoral Fellow Award and a CIHR Fellowship just this month, and Reza, who was awarded the NSERC CGSD scholarship. So wonderful accomplishments. Congratulations to you both. Isa So was also awarded an Ontario Graduate Scholarship, an OGS scholarship. And Kaylon Falk also was awarded an NSERC CGSD scholarship. So wonderful to see some provincial and tri-council awardees at Kite. Anita Kaiser was awarded the Vanier Graduate Scholarship this past fall. And also she was awarded the 9th National Spinal Cord Injury Conference Award just a couple months ago in March. And Shabnam had a podium presentation in the Age Well Epic conference, as I know a lot of Kite trainees had a great presence at that conference. And she was awarded a Schwartz Reisman graduate. She's an inaugural fellow of the Schwartz Reisman graduate group. Catherine Bach also was awarded an ORT Office of UHN Office of Research Trainees Conference Award, and we had some good presence, including Catherine's talk at the Canadian Society for Brain, Behavior and Cognitive Sciences, CSBBCS, this month. Also, Brandy had a presentation at CSBBCS this month as well. Gustavo was awarded the best abstract in the clinical stream at the Toronto BME conference recently, which was, I know a lot of people had some success at that conference and were involved in organizing that conference. So congratulations to Gustavo. He also had a 3rd place winning in the postdoctoral competition in the knowledge generation stream at the National Spinal Cord Injury Conference. And he was awarded as a co-PI for the project titled Utility of a Novel Mobility Smoothness Metric in Predicting Falls Among the Oldest Old. So congratulations on those really impressive accomplishments. And Andrea Bandini placed 3rd in the oral presentation awards at the American Spinal Cord Injury Association meeting. Nero was awarded the Canadian Consortium on Neurodegeneration and Aging Training and Capacity Building Program through the Interdisciplinary Trainee Research Innovation Challenge, a national award, and was also awarded a CCNA Women, Sex and Gender Dementia Program for also the ITRIC Interdisciplinary Trainee Research Innovation Challenge. And she had a poster presentation at the Perform Center Research Conference that was well received. And Dr. Ivan Solano successfully defended his PhD thesis in January. So congratulations to Dr. Solano. Erica Dove was elected to communications position on the executive committee of the Alzheimer's Association Professional Interest Area. And she also had the podium presentation at the Age Well EPIC conference. And Dr. Philippa Gosin successfully defended her PhD also just this month. So congratulations to Dr. Gosin. And our very own president of our Kite Trainee Executive Committee, Saya Bayat, was elected to programs position on the executive committee of the Alzheimer's Association Professional Interest Area this month. And it's wonderful to announce that Saya also is going to become, or has been hired as a tenure track assistant professor in geomatics engineering and bioengineering at the University of Calgary starting in the fall. So we're very excited to see where continued collaborations with Saya go in her new faculty position, which is wonderful. Okay, and with that, I think we are now going to send it over to Hodan, I believe, who will tell us a little bit about our Kite Young Innovators program.
Thank you so much,
Is
Jenny. And it
Hodan
was,
here? Oh,
yep, I'm here. Yeah,
sorry.
no worries. Thank you so much, Jenny, for that. And it was great to hear about all the accomplishments. So congratulations to everyone. So now I'm just going to speak about the Kite Young Innovators program that Jenny spoke about briefly. So the Kite Young Innovators program is a not-for-profit youth STEM outreach program based at Kite. And it's been around for about 10 or 11 years now. And the aim of our program is to provide youth and educators with hands-on interactive materials and activities. So it's a STEM outreach program where we facilitate activities, events for youth and educators provincially, nationally in Canada, as well as international events we've had as well. So we've collaborated with schools and community organizations across Ontario and internationally as well to make STEM more accessible and inclusive for youth. So we really want youth, particularly underrepresented youth, for example, girls, racialized youth, to really see their place in STEM. And our programming includes on-site tours. This was pre-COVID and hopefully after COVID as well. In the next little while, activities and workshops. And we've now also pivoted in the last year or so to offer virtual tours, scientist panels, design challenges, and different activities for youth. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about some opportunities that we offer to be a volunteer in the program. So recently, over the past year, we've developed a co-op opportunity with U of T's Summer Mentorship Program, which is a program that offers an experience for grade 11 and 12 high school students that are Black and Indigenous, an opportunity to learn more about health science careers. And so this co-op program we developed, we were responsible for providing a placement for over 120 students, where they really had an opportunity to learn about rehab sciences, health sciences, and get an opportunity to do their own research. And with that program, there are a lot of different opportunities for KYI volunteers to get involved. For example, one opportunity was to be a mentor to the students. So students were working in groups on a project, and some of the mentors had an opportunity to kind of support the students, give them advice on their projects, share feedback, and essentially just support them along their development. And that would be a longer time commitment if you were interested in being more committed in the program, for example. We also have shorter time commitments, for example, our speakers series, and that is an opportunity where you would speak to the youth, for example, in the co-op program or other programs about your research, your journey, and what you do on a day-to-day basis. It's a great opportunity for the students to learn more about what exactly is research and how all of you as trainees became to your positions. We also have different opportunities such as judging opportunities. So when we do have these events and competitions, we typically have a judging session at the end where all students present their work. And a judging opportunity would be a shorter time commitment where you would spend a few hours over one day just to kind of judge all the presentations. We also have other more flexible opportunities to get involved, such as developing activities that can be delivered online and potentially in person. So if you have an activity that you would think would be great, or you have an idea for an activity, feel free to reach out and I can support you to kind of develop an activity. We also have opportunities for social media and engagement and promotion, so interacting with other organizations, promoting the KYI members, and just really showing all the great work that we're doing. We also have a lot of other opportunities that aren't captured here. And so if you are interested in youth outreach, sharing a bit about the work that you're doing, or just really supporting the program, feel free to reach out to myself, Hodan, and my email is listed at the bottom, and I can also put it in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hodan. So we have impeccable timing, and I see that our judges have returned, which means we have some winners. I want to thank our judges again, Dorina, Ron, Amanda, and Augustine for serving in this really important role today and for supporting our trainees. And I do believe that Ron is our spokesperson. And so we're going to start off. Ron is going to announce the winners of the live presentations that were deliberated by the judges. And then afterwards, we'll pass it over to Saya, who has the final results of the People's Choice Award and also the Twitter competition. So at this point, I am going to hand it over to Ron.
Thanks, Jenny. And first, I just want to share on behalf of the judges, congratulations to all of you for the wonderful work you did today, but pretty much the work you've been doing for the past months and past years for many of you. I am here coming more with the hat, the voice of the patient, the caregiver. I'm quite engaged in the healthcare space. And I want to just acknowledge that many of you are doing great work that in a space where we're going to need the leaders. Okay, all of you are the leaders that will create more innovation, more programs, affect the lives of the people that you're not seeing here right now. Okay, you get to affect them. In your, we had COVID. You might have not seen all of them, but you're going to affect many lives, and I'm very confident of that. I've always been proud to be collaborated with the University of Toronto because it is a leader, in the world around this work. So yeah, don't forget that when you move forward, your ability to bring your leadership skills and to also affect those coming. Okay, so I think you guys were just talking about that. So be mentors in the future. So moving forward now, the winners. We're gonna announce. It's everyone is a winner. Okay, everyone's a winner, but there are some prizes. So we're gonna. It was very technical. Scores helped us. Okay, it was tough, Jenny, as you said. Okay, but when you have the scores, it makes it easier. We did have one Simon Cowell on the team. That's okay. I won't tell you who that was. Okay, but it still worked out. The score still, worked out. So there are 3 prizes, but we actually have 2 honorary no dollar award acknowledgements. Okay, so those 2. First one is congrats to Nithin Jacob, okay, for an honorary mention there, and also Niro Mohanathas. I apologize that but to Niro, congrats on that there. Okay. So I'm gonna first, we have the Olympics coming up. It's kind of like the bronze medal, and all that. So number 3, okay, our 3rd prize goes to Rachel Cohen. So congratulations, Rachel. Is Rachel on the screen here? Rachel, are you? Oh, there you are. Okay, congrats, Rachel. Okay, okay. Our 2nd prize, okay. Congratulations goes to Gustavo Balbino. Okay, Gustavo, congrats. There you are. Well done. Yeah, well done. And our first prize, the big prize, whatever that dollar amount is, congratulations to Eugene Wang. Okay, Eugene, congrats. Okay. I think, Eugene, you're the only one that was standing up, now that I think about it. Were you standing up this whole time?
It helps me, yeah.
Okay, so that might help, everyone. Just so you know, that might be the secret sauce. So
thank you.
Just, yeah, I don't know if they get to say anything, but maybe Eugene, just congrats. No,
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there you go. Okay.
Sorry.
There you go.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Ron, and congratulations to all our live presentation winners. I'm going to pass it over to Saya now because there's two last awards that we need to announce, and those are the People's Choice Award and the Twitter Presentation Award. So Saya.
Thanks so much, Jenny. And once again, I want to thank everyone for participating in our annual 3MT competition. I'm very pleased to announce that Tyler Sammer is the winner of our Twitter presentation competition. Congratulations, Tyler. And the winner of our People's Choice Award is Rachel Cohen. Congratulations to both of you and all the winners, and thanks to all the presenters.
Fantastic. So we had some alignment with our judges and our audience, which is great to see. So congratulations to Rachel and congratulations, Tyler. So this concludes the live event portion. I know that several of you are also signed up for the mentorship session, which will start later. And so we look forward to seeing you there. But I'd like to take this opportunity again to say how wonderful it was to see all of these amazing presentations, the incredible Kite representation by our incredible Kite trainees. And I'm so thrilled that we're able to celebrate these accomplishments and achievements, and the winners are extremely deserving, and we congratulate you with our fullest congratulations. So a round of applause again for all of our winners. Congratulations. Milos, did you want to say any final words?
No, just outstanding work, all of you, and special congratulations to Rachel, Gustavo, and Eugene. That's great. Outstanding.
Thank you so much. So make sure that we will be promoting all of our winners on our social media channels. So watch for that, and we'll be in touch with you about your prizes. So everyone have a great evening. It was great to see you. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.